I started my Fierce Deity sword template by tracing off the model that you get in Breath of the Wild from the amiibos. After cutting the pieces of paper apart and lining them up, I used some tape to piece them together. After taping them together, I used my box cutter and other knife and scissors to cut out the template. After cutting out the template, I then traced it onto some EVA foam. This was some 5mm EVA foam. After tracing the template out, I started cutting out my pieces. I ended up cutting out roughly 5 layers of the sword so that I can get a large enough bevel. Some of the foam that I had was a little bit too short, so I had to glue a longer piece on the top, as well as measure up against my other layers to make sure I had the correct size. Actually, I think this was 6mm foam, not 4. I also cut out a PVC pipe for the handle, which I will then also wrap with some 2mm EVA foam, and the pommel is made out of some discs of the 6mm foam. I found some steel gardening poles, and they're going to be used for the internal structure of the Fierce Deity sword. Marked where it's gonna stop in the handle and where to bend them for the internal structure. I traced on the inside of the foam in order to put V-cuts to have a beveled area for the core of the steel to go into. I also mirrored it on both sides. After cutting these bevels, I then took my contact cement, while wearing protection, to then put inside of these grooves and then put the glue on the steel pipes in order to glue them internally for the sword. I made 2 curved halves of this pipe so that they don't intersect and make the cross section too thick. in the center of this double helix. Then after the core was put in there, I started to lay on a layer of PVC or contact cement on both sides of the black foam core. I also started putting the foam discs together for the pommel, so that once they were tacky, I could put them together and stack them properly. Here you could see that the glue was then tacky, and I started from the top down to hopefully keep the angle of the blade as straight as possible. Making sure to follow the groove of the core as well. Here you can see I have the stacked part of the pommel, and then there's going to be a smaller pommel disc on the bottom. I need to cut the edges. I rough cut them, and then I also went to the sander after I rough cut the edges to make a easier conical shape. Much smoother. Now I need to do the bottom part of the pommel. As you can see here. And that's just been traced there, and I'm going to glue the same thing with I did with the previous pieces of foam. I needed to strengthen the pipes and the steel there, so I put hot glue in, and I got some wooden dowels that was going to get slid in there so that when I put the PVC pipe over these, it has a little bit more rigidity to it. After everything was stacked, I took one of my knives and elongated it, and then started shaving off the sword bevel just to get the angle started. Once I was done shaving the angle off, as you can see here, I took it over to my belt sander. Always when working with these things, please be careful, wear proper protection, face guards and everything. The sword was getting a little bit unwieldy as well, so I was getting second thoughts on how big this sword was. Here you can see, definitely be wearing a dust mask at all times, whether it just be a Dremel or you're using a belt sander, because look at all this debris. After everything was beveled, I went outside, and it was super heavy. You could see it warping from me just lifting it up. And very wobbly. So I decided I needed to actually take off 2 layers, one on each side. I took my knife and cut down the glued angle on both sides. I ended up trying my best. I did get a little bit of a rough surface, but it'll work out in the end. I hollowed out part of the pommel to fit over the PVC pipe, and then when they're glued together, it'll just look good. I then used the PVC cement, or the contact cement, I should say, on the PVC pipe, and then took 2mm foam strips that I cut and wrapped it around the handle. Here I started marking on the blade the details of the bisection on both sides, as well as other detail parts for the helix and the grooves that are going to be on top of the Fierce Deity sword. Afterwards, I took my Dremel and went down the larger parts that needed to be very deep, and then the other pieces that didn't need to be as deep, I ended up just using my knife. After all the beveling and such, I took my heat gun while wearing my protective gear to heat seal it, plasti dipped the entire thing after it was done. When using the spray paint, be in a well-ventilated area or outside or both, as well as wearing protective gear. After the plastic dip was dry, I took this bluish teal as the next big base coat. Started off with dusting and then went on to more heavier coats. After masking off the parts that needed to be masked off, I went over with this more foresty green or grassy green for the other half of the Fierce Deity sword. The handle also got some masking when I went in and did a lighter seafoam green for the wrap. After this, it was the best part of doing these, where you take off all of the masking and the paper to reveal the paint job underneath. I really enjoyed the bluish green and the darker green on this Fierce Deity sword. I think I did a pretty good color match. And here it is before I did any weathering on it. The blade surface was a little bit rough, but I actually think it looks okay for now. It's passable. If I did it again, I'd be a little bit cleaner on using the correct amount of layers. And after I was done with this, I did a whole dark wash over the entire thing, adding to that weatherness, the grime of being used. This was an extremely fun build. I've wanted to make more Zelda stuff. This is the first of my Zelda projects. Let me know what you all think in the comments below, and see if there are other Zelda things you'd like to see. Thank you so much for watching. Here it is next to me. If you could, please leave a like and subscribe. It helps out the channel a whole lot. Let me know if there's other stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.